Good afternoon, all. CamelbackTrading.org coming to you this Tuesday afternoon, April 27th, and we are looking at Window Traders market profile of the SPY IWM and triple Qs. First off, if you get a chance, check out Anthony Crudeli on YouTube. We have our podcast that he and I did last night. Hopefully you'd find it enjoyable, so you could check him out under that name on YouTube. Second off, the market didn't do much today. I had a good day, but two of the trades I made most of my money on are trades I wouldn't recommend. I'll go over those in a minute. We'll do SPY last. First off, let's just do triple Qs quickly. Sort of a B shape, an ugly one. They never really filled out the bottom. 12 out of 13 wide. That's end period that made 13. I don't count that. $3 range. All their volumes done within like a 40-cent range. Interesting. Never saw the opening after the opening. IWM, and this is one of the trades I took. IWM, that 228.10 weekly high is important to me. We opened, actually on a small gap, filled that gap right away. They had overlap and a higher value. They started going higher. Buys didn't get much in C, D, E, and F. So what happened? They flushed. And when they started flushing in G, I said, I'll take a long below their value low, which this isn't what value low was at the time. But not knowing righty as well as I do SPY, and it moves, and it moved pretty good. I ended up getting myself, I traded the M2K. I traded the micros. But I ended up being long 40 of them. So I might as well have just bought 40 of the righty. However, the benefit, even though the commissions stink, the benefit to me was when it started going back up in G, I was able to take off ones and twos at a time as opposed to just having 4 of the righty. And it turned out to be a decent trade. However, it's not a proper trade. I should have had a stop in there, or I was looking for it to take out A's low. We had already taken out the IB high. I was like, well, if we take out the IB low and don't get much for it, I was looking for it to go back to POC when I took that trade. I probably would have added even more, but that's still not technically a right trade, but it worked out. Now, SPY and ES, we open right at the top of M's range. By the way, all we've done for 26 time frames, my friends, is trade M's range from Friday. We barely got below it today in B and C. Spent no time or volume down there. So for 26 time frames, we're trading inside of M's range. So we're back in balance in the daily. We have a very tight range. We have the Fed tomorrow. We have 3 highs incredibly close to each other within pennies, and the all-time high in the overnight. To me, this market can possibly do a lot over tomorrow and the next couple of days. I wouldn't doubt if we take out both the past 2 days' highs and lows, even before the Fed, certainly after the Fed. I think this market's set up to have a move of minimum 7 to 10 points. Question is, which way is it going to go? Are we just pausing here and they're waiting for the Fed not to say anything drastic and we pop? Look at this. If we pop above this, my goodness, 420, 425 can easily come. On the flip side, if the buyers who continually keep pecking away out up here don't get it, well, maybe we'll take it out to the downside and get $10 to the downside. We had an inside day down today, folks. 3 times we attempted in A, B, and C. This market is long forever, and they still couldn't get anything out of an inside day right off the all-time highs. They got nothing. We had lower value at the time. Ends up overlapping to lower. We end 10 wide. There's not a seller in sight. So to be quite honest with you, unless the Fed trips up and says something, maybe they're just resting. We're going to go high here. So Morgan Stanley put out that they're expecting a 10 to 20% correction. Now, I give them credit for going out on a limb like that, and they're basing it on they think inflation is already here and the Fed is going to be behind the 8 ball and have to start raising rates rather than lowering them. But a couple of things on that. Number one, they didn't give a time frame for that. Number two, and more importantly, is unless the Fed drastically changes what they said last time, they talk about not raising rates to 2023. So forget about looking for them to do it now. We're talking over a year and a half away, possibly. So unless that changes drastically, I don't know how fast that's going to happen. And number three, and the most important to me, markets don't go bull bear. So even if Morgan Stanley's right, this market still has to balance. So you might lose 5 to 10 points on the downside you don't get. But guess what? If you're going to correct 10% is $40, folks, on the SPY. Almost $42. So who cares if you miss the first 5 or 10 on the downside? You have more confirmation. You get the next 30 to the downside. And if you're talking a 20% correction, who really cares about missing the first $5 to $10 if you're looking at an $80 move to the downside? So that's why there's no reason to pick a top. Wait for the market to come in to balance. As far as my trades today in SPY, I took a short in A period against the inside day, against basically yesterday's high, and it worked. I did the 419 puts. I did it again in B period. When B period took out A, came back up, I took it again. When it came back in, 419 puts. Now, I actually still had 10 left of my put play. So I had a good A period, a good B period. C period gets close to B's high. And I had 10 puts left. And I always say, well, that's the best risk reward. You can take a size put play because you know you're out. Well, instead, I tried to play innovator. I was like, maybe we're going to pop here. And I went and bought 50 calls. I still had my 10 puts, but I bought 50 calls. And lo and behold, we came in without taking out B's high. Came on, and I ended up buying, I was long 100 calls and getting hurt. Now, I was fortunate. I actually took off the last 10 puts I had down here. That made money. And then the calls started going back up. I actually made money on the trade, but it was not the proper trade. And then it finally took out B's high, and I took off the rest. So I made money on it, but it wasn't the proper trade. The proper trade was either just hold on to 10 puts or take a bigger put play because your risk reward, look at the reward you would have gotten. Instead of buying 50 calls, if I had bought 50 puts and made it 60 puts, man, what a payday that would have been. Instead of being in the pain I was, even though I ended up making the money. So again, the trade in IWM, the trade here, they were my two best paying trades, not the correct trades. At least not, I shouldn't have stayed in them. Then after that trade, I took a short in E period when we were getting no acceleration against, I'm like, I'll take the short against yesterday's POC. Those were the 420 puts. Those were they worked out. The 416 calls were the ones I was long, by the way. And then in K period, again, took another short against value high at the time and made small on those. I did nothing in M period. Although I was really tempted to take a put play because I'm like, I don't think this market's just going to explode to the upside in the last 15 minutes. I didn't do it, but that's okay. Destinations for tomorrow. Upside, today's high 418.14. Then yesterday's high 418.22 and the all-time weekly high 418.25. So we have three highs within 11 cents of each other at the all-time high. And then the pre-market all-time high 418.50. For the downside, we actually probed again, so I'll use L's high. We don't know till tomorrow, 417.99. Then we're 10 wide at 417.22. Using G's lows, the afternoon pullback, 416.98, 416.30. Today's low. And then we have all those single prints. Believe it or not, we still have two sets of single prints on the 23rd. So that trend day is held. I know ES only has one, but I have two. I have the large one, 415.60, get filled at 414.47. And then 414.22, get filled at 20. Lowest accepted price of 414.11. 412.79 daily low, 411.13 daily low. So I gave you a pretty good range in case we do get a little frisky tomorrow. I gave you all the upside destinations we have and all the way down to 411 and change on the downside. And then on the charts, I'm just going to show you the daily. We're back in balance. Call it a 2-day balance. I'd call it a 2-day balance. If you take out today's low and get any acceleration, then you come back into this whole mess and maybe you could finally get down to around the 410 level. That'd be the next big level on the downside. Remember those 2 weekly lows? We still have those 2 weekly lows right next to each other, 410.20, 410.59. So basically what I'm saying is this. I do believe I'll give myself to like Monday's close. So over the next 4 days, really 3.5, because I don't know how much we're going to do before the Fed speaks tomorrow. I think we're going to get a minimum $7 to $10 move in the SPY by next Monday. The question is, which way is it going to be? Is it going to finally take out those 3 daily highs and rip higher? Or are they going to finally give it up and go lower? Or maybe they take out those 3 highs and find crickets above there and then roll over. All remains to be seen. I hope you had a great day trading. Have a great night. If you get a chance, check out Anthony Crudele on YouTube. I did a podcast with him last night. Really enjoyed it. Went really well. So after you check out this video, why don't you go check out that one? Have a great night, and we'll speak prior to the opening tomorrow.